Dima wallhacks, a pretty new content creator for the CS scene that became famous for doing insanely difficult challenges and stealing other people's ideas. His consistency and work ethic is what separates him from the majority of the CS content creators. But what's really interesting about Dima is that because of his very well-made videos about him achieving global elite with Scout only, Revolver only and other weapons, a lot of people became to overestimate his Counter-Strike skill. In TikTok and YouTube comments, you can see people fighting and arguing about him being top 1% of skilled players in this game, simply because he managed to get global elite multiple times in such difficult conditions. Now, the average rank of a Counter-Strike player is 9000 premier rating, which is around gold Nova 3 in CSGO terms. So, when an average player sees a guy who gets global elite with just a revolver, he might think that this guy must be a pro or at least near pro level. But in reality, is Dima wallhacks as good as people think he is? Is he actually near the skill level of Donk, Monesi and Nico? Well, let's find out. Now, Dima is a good friend of mine, and instead of watching a game of my choice, I asked him to choose any game that he wants for me to review, and he picked his recent game on Mirage. The game was played on 24,000 average premier rating, which is considered to be top 1% of players in this game. Let's see how Dima performed. Round 1, they're gonna be doing a 5-man B-rush and Dima is gonna be the first person to go out. We clearly see a player on car throwing an early molly, but Dima is too distracted reading chat, so he runs with his knife out and dies. But his team wins the round. Round 2, Dima gets a Galil and runs mid. Obviously, we expect cities to do a half buy or a force buy with deagles and farm guns, but we see absolutely zero utility for mid from Dima and his team. No window, no connector and not even a top mid smoke. But that does not stop Dmitry IMBot from finding some clear entries and single-handedly securing the site and winning the round for his team. But just for your information, throwing some mid utility is always a good option even against pistols. Next round, Dima has a close spawn for A, but this is not the best spawn to pick ramp, so he decides to go Palace instead. Well, at least I expect him to think like that. Playing from Palace and entering A site requires a very good understanding of timings and crosshair placement. For example, this is how Xantares does it. And now let's watch Dima.
Huh?
The jungle player was definitely not walling, considering the fact that he finished the game with 5 kills and died 21 times. But what surprises me here is that Dima doesn't know that picking close to the wall makes you not see the enemy, while enemy sees you. After winning 3 rounds in a row, Dima has a mid spawn, but he decides to go Palace again. But this time he already has information and acts according to it and wins the round. 0-4 and another spawn for mid. This time we see a perfect demonstration of what happens when you don't have any smokes for middle. Dima picks a guy on short, but since Con is not smoked, he simply gets killed from behind. The best play in those situations is to throw a window and connector smoke from spawn, or after you are out in mid, smoke top Con and only after that pick short. This was the first round that Dima lost. Funny fact, both of A players were holding mid, so the smoke would have isolated them both, and after finding a kill on short, T's could have easily done a B split. Next round, Dima and his team are doing an A execute. By the way, this is not how you lamp flash, but Dima probably knows that, at least I hope so. So the execute is happening and there are a lot of things to talk about, but let's watch it first. Okay, so Dima manages to find 1 kill, but there are so many things that were done wrong. First one, why do you start the execute so early? You just threw a flash, which means that you already focused opponent's attention on A site. You don't have a single person coming from Palace, which is a crucial part for refragging. And my last question, where is the stairs smoke? Like, I understand that we're analyzing Dima and not his teammates, but if I would be making a 5-stack to grind premier rating together, I would at least invite people who know how to smoke stairs, since it's the easiest nade on the map. Next thing, Dima goes out with 100% full information about 1 player being on Palace and 1 on default. There is absolutely zero need to get in this corner, especially when stairs is not smoked. You need to play around Tetris since it's the best place to contest palace and balcony, and that's how they lose the second round. Before we continue, let me introduce today's video partner, Skin Club. But you have to be 18 plus to play on a site. They're one of the biggest case opening sites out there with instant withdrawal system. They got daily cases to open, lots of fun game modes to choose from, and a huge variety of deposit methods. I played on a site myself, and as you can see, I managed to profit in a matter of seconds. After that, I tried my luck in case battles where I instantly won in a 2 vs 2. And then, I withdrew my skins and immediately got them in my inventory. If you wanna check them out, use my link in the description for a deposit bonus, and now let's get on with the video. Next round, Dima has the best spawn to challenge ramp, let's see what he does. Bro, come on, this is not how you entry. First of all, you got 2 flashes. You either drop it for your teammates to lamp flash for you, or you can do the lamp flash yourself. I mean, I don't expect Dima to know the self lamp flash, but just drop your flashes and ask your mate to do it for you. This bounce flash that Dima threw is really bad compared to lamp flash. Also, the self lamp flash was shown to me by my IRL friend Zeko around 2 years ago. He played for top HLTV teams, and when he was at my apartment, I asked him to show me something interesting. Feel free to use it.
Она точно слепит? Да. Подписывайтесь.
Anyways, 3 rounds in a row, Dima is losing simply because of poor utility usage. Next round, Dima goes under and finds an easy kill, but then he reloads and dies to a CT picking window. Only if someone had a smoke. 3-5. Dima goes mid, but then turns around towards A site. Let's see what happens next. Everything goes great, Dima found some sick entries and that should have been an easy round. But not today.
Another one. And another one.
First of all, I would advise every single one of you to not throw any utility unless you fully cleared pit or you have your teammates holding it for you. Second of all, Dima, your teammates are doing an A split and coming from connector. Why are you throwing a connector smoke? You literally block their entire view of site and the only place where they can peek from is top of stairs. And one of Dima's teammates actually dies because of that. The best play here would be to either smoke deep jungle or just smoke CT. And third of all, you're all faced at level 10s. When you spot a 5-man stack on site, you can leave maybe 1 or 2 players holding it and hunting for kills, but the majority of the team should instantly use Saint Bolt to the other side to get a free plant. That's just CS 101. The score is 4-5, but it should be 9-0. Dima and his team lost every single round so far, not because enemies played better, but simply because of their own mistakes. Anyways, Dima goes mid with Tiggle and his teammates find 2 entries in window. Then Dima finds another kill and let's do some calculations. So, 2 of Dima's teammates found entries in window and then Dima himself also found a kill there. We also have the info that one guy just killed his teammate near under. Let's try to calculate the most logical move. I'll give you some options. Option number 1, regroup towards short and then take empty B site. Option number 2, pick the guy under together and then move S2 to any of the sides. And option number 3, fall back and sit in top mid for 40 seconds to make enemies regroup and lose the round. 5-6, and this time Dima will play as a lurk in ramp and he does it in the worst possible way. If you're trying to play in ramp, first you gotta wait out the nades like a molly or a late HE. After that you can hold from a few spots. For example, this Nico angle will help you to find easy kills on anyone who is picking stairs or close ramp. But since Dima is trying to play super passive, for him the best spot would be on top of this thing because it's really easy to find kills on anyone pushing. The angle that he's holding is incredibly uncomfortable to hold, you know what I'm talking about if you ever played deathmatch. Anyways, Dima finds a kill on stairs and spots another city close ramp, so he makes a good decision to fall back. His teammates kill the city in ramp and Dima makes a good play by expecting the B-side anchor to rotate, and that kill secures the last round of the half.
Right there, yeah!
CT pistol round and Dima goes connector where he finds 2 kills and then they win the round. The exactly same situation happens next round. Next round, the situation repeats itself, but this time T's are doing in a execute. Dima quickly adjusts to the information, throws a good deal in molly and does a smoke spam that I personally see for the first time. With this spray, Dima killed 2 people, but if we look at the damage tab, we can see that with a few more bullets he would have had 4. The score is 10-5 and I would prefer to not comment this round, just watch it for yourself. The CT side so far went incredibly easy. T side barely showed any resistance and it honestly felt like watching a competition between disabled people. So next round, Dima decides to add a little bit of challenge into the game and picks top mid from con without a smoke or any utility at all. And exactly the same thing happens next round, he dies in con without any utility. You probably noticed that opponents adjusted to their playstyle and started playing more passive, since they were just getting pushed for too many rounds in a row. And you also probably noticed that I didn't make a single comment about Dima's aim, which is uncommon for me. Now it's time to combine those 2 topics into one conclusion. It's easily noticeable that Dima's strongest weapon is his aim, and for a person who doesn't practice and train, he's really good. His initial flicks and crosshair placement helps him to find a lot of quick kills, and his spray control is also decent. But the reason why Dima can't find consistency in his game is simply because he plays according to only one strategy: run, pre-aim and shoot. But if his opponents are taking slow approach and playing passive, Dima finds it difficult to adjust to that, and this is why he can't find consistency on higher ratings. The strategy of running and shooting can get you up to 2500 elo on Faceit and above 25,000 premier rating, but once you start meeting opponents who are same mechanical level as you but have more adaptivity in their playstyle, then it would definitely hurt your win rate. If Dima wants to perform better in his games, he needs to start using more utility, for example throwing a window connector or top mid smokes to make going mid easier as T. Or as a CT, you can throw connector smoke and play around it to make your opponents confused, instead of just dry picking mid every round. After a few rounds, the score is 11-10, and everyone in their right mind would have given up on the strategy of just brainlessly running and picking mid from con. Everyone, but not Dima wallhacks. He manages to find 3 kills and wins the round for his team. Next round, Dima plays as a anchor instead of connector, and let's see how it plays out. Honestly, I feel like a role of an anchor suits him more because he plays way more focused and strict. So let's make a final conclusion about Dima. Does he deserve Faceit level 10? Yes. Does he deserve Global Elite? Yes. Yes. Does he deserve 25,000 premier rating and can he reach up to 30,000? The answer is yes, but he will lose some games when he's gonna get matches against 3-4,000 Faceit elo stacks against him just because of his playstyle. I think that Dima's skill level is around 22-2300 elo on Faceit just because of his mechanics. And that is way above average CS player in terms of skill level, but he's nowhere near tier 1 players as some of the TikTok NPCs might think. I have 2 advices for Dima. The first one would be to learn basic utility on all of the maps that he plays, and the second one would be to invite a more experienced and adaptive player into his 5-stack, so when Dima's playstyle doesn't work, someone would simply guide him on what to do and how to adapt. He has lots of viewers, and I'm sure that he can get some 3000 elo guy from chat who could take that role. Originally, I wanted to call Dima and ask him what he thinks about people comparing him to pro players and making him seem way better of a player than he is. But unfortunately, I've been asking him for over a week and he couldn't find even 5 minutes of his unbelievably tight streaming schedule to answer my questions. So we will never know a true answer to that question, and maybe that's for the best.